Welcome, everyone, to MLB Tonight, presented by Cone Resnick. We've got news today as introductory press conferences held coast to coast for an under-the-radar shortstop and an over-the-radar right fielder for the largest contract in the history of sports. Brian Kenny, Dan Plesac. We talk a lot Juan Soto today.
$765 million over 15 years. As you'd say, that's real money.
That is real money, no matter how you look at it. Again, the biggest deal in baseball history. Let's go out to Citi Field, their official introduction today. Newest free agent acquisition, Juan Soto, 15 years, the longest ever. $765, no deferrals. The largest deal in North American sports history. It's 15 years long, but it was all smiles today.
What they showed me and how the organization runs teams and how they're going to manage teams and how they look at their future, I think it was one of the things that opened my eyes a little bit more. What they've been constructing and building to take all the way to 15 years, 20 years, you never know. But definitely that was one of the things that opened my eyes more, how hungry they are to win a championship and to want to make a dynasty in the New York Mets. The money standpoint, definitely it's going to be there. It's going to come. It's always great, but definitely it was really impressive what they showed me that they can do with my family and stuff like that. I haven't talked to any of those guys. Definitely, we talked to them through playoff, at the end of the playoffs, but after that, I make this process. I haven't talked to any of those guys.
That was 1 year with the New York Yankees. He was a terrific Yankee last year, but he hasn't spoken to anybody yet, so ties were not that close, evidently. Soto has bounced around from team to team the last few years, but the next 15 under contract for the New York Mets. There is an opt-out after 5 years. Mets can void it by adding $4 million per year for the remaining 10 years. Otherwise, as AAV, as we call it in the business stand, $51 million a year for 15 years. That Shohei Ohtani deal, which was the previous high, you see it right there, $700 million. Most of that deferred. Soto, not deferred. Soto sitting down with our own Harold Reynolds at Citi Field.
First off, congratulations, bro. I got to give you some. I've known you for so long. What a day.
What a day.
How was the press conference? You walk in, they're cheering for you and everything. How'd that feel?
It feels great. It feels amazing, you know. It's one of the things that you dream when you're coming up to the big leagues, you know, have a moment like that where people appreciate what you do and everything, and I enjoy it a lot.
You know, when you go through a process like this and you're thinking about next steps, what you might do, 15 years, that had to play into what you were looking for. What were you looking for in an organization?
I feel like it's always to see what they have and all the information that this team do and here and there, all that kind of stuff. We look at every little step that they have and what they do and what they want to do for the future. You know, we look at everything.
Like what do you see? Like, I hear that a lot. What are you looking at?
We look at everything, literally at everything, even if the lie is a little bit bigger than the other ones. You know, hey, we look at everything. It's just the way it is, because you're making a commitment of 15 years, and you want to make sure that you want to have the best time of that team and in that moment, that city for those 15 years. And definitely we look at everything and try to make the right decision.
You know, you go all the way back, you turn down a lot of money in Washington, you get traded to San Diego, end up in New York, playing for the Yankees. During that process, were you kind of like, man, I should have taken a deal along the way, or did you feel good with where you were at?
I think I feel good with where I'm at. I think everything works on the right way and the right path. I was having a lot of confidence in myself, that what I can do, what I'm capable of doing. And I trust it. Definitely Scott has a lot to do with, because he showed me all the data and everything. Definitely he let me do my decisions. He respected everything that I wanted to do, but he definitely showed me everything that I had to see. So I think it's huge for me.
All right, let's talk baseball. A couple questions and I'll let you go. One of the things I love is you continue to get better. What are you working on that continues to help you become better every season?
I feel it's just the way it goes, you know. I feel like you always can step it up your game. You always want to be the best version of yourself, and that's one of the things that takes me to come every day to work on the field, to keep improving my game. If it's running wise, defensive wise, you know, every aspect. So I'm I'm hungry to come every day to the ballpark to get better. I think it's one of the things that it takes me to keep moving forward and keep getting better and better.
Last question. You break in as a rookie, you come to Washington, you tear it up, you win a World Series, you continue to get better, as we just talked about. Who's had the biggest impact on you for growing as a player?
Definitely I have a couple guys through my entire career. I would say Max Scherzer, Ryan Zimmerman, and Aaron Judge. They really impact my career. They show me really how to be a leader inside of the field and outside of the field, how to train guys. It just make everybody feel equal, you know. And we are the same. It's no highs and lows. It's no horses in the team. It's no little ponies in the team. It's everybody. We the same. We kind of the same. And I take those three guys as the best guys that show me how to handle myself throughout this game.
There's Juan Soto with Harold Reynolds, technically not sitting down with Harold. I said sitting down with Harold. They're actually standing there. He's a man in demand. Here are the numbers. Look, his hitting is state-of-the-art. And this is what he's done since 2018, since breaking in his age 19 season. This is age 19 through age 25. That's pre-prime. He's just entering his prime now. On-base percentage, #1 in all of baseball. OPS plus, that's park-adjusted, adjusted to the run-scoring environment. 4th in all of baseball. He's 5th in WAR. That's with the defense and the base running. That's about league average at best. Run expectancy, RE24, 3rd in all of baseball. It's only Aaron Judge and Freddie Freeman who are ahead of him. So that's volume and that's hitting. Dan, I should throw in, he also got a sweep, right?
He did.
He got a sweep. Yankees don't do sweeps, Mets do sweeps. Well, I want to just address that for a moment. This thing with the Yankees, that he did have the 1 year with the Yankees. There's always a thought that if you spend 1 year with a club, maybe you give them the edge because you've already been there. What do you make of the New York thing, that he went to the Mets, not the Yankees?
Okay, I look at it this way. After Game 5 was over, it literally was a half hour. He addressed the media, and he pretty much gave you an idea, if you're a Yankee fan, that he was open and listening to all takers. And so right there wasn't any part of that post-game interview, Game 5, that said, I enjoyed my time in New York. I loved being a Yankee. I loved wearing the pinstripe. I loved playing, you know, with Aaron Judge. It was almost like, okay, it's time for business. And so I can understand why the rabid Yankee fan is angry, because, Brian, the facts are the facts. There is no way the Yankees would have been the team they were in 2024 without number 22. He changed the lineup. He changed the way opposing teams attacked the Yankees. He changed starting pitching, relief pitching. He is a guy that when you get ready to go into a series, you know that you have Judge, but then you also had Soto. So they had two giant monsters in that lineup. I can understand why Yankee fans are angry, but the part of it that I think he gave you a heads up in the post-game interview in Game 5, that there weren't going to be a lot of emotions or strings attached keeping the pinstripes on.
There's a lot being said out there. It's being bandied about that Soto just felt more welcomed with the Mets, and that they treat your family better getting into the park and getting into a suite, and then they gave him a suite and all that. I don't know how much that does it, but 15 years and just the trajectory of the Mets club, I think, also speaks to you. I want to push back on something, though. Even though, look, he's #1 on base in the entire sport since he broke in, but he did not single-handedly transform the Padres, the team that he was with just before the Yankees, into a World Series team or even a playoff team. So what do you make of this investment?
I look at it this way. There were so many things that came together at the right time. If you and I were going to be a free agent position player, prime age 26. He's shown already he can handle the biggest market, that being New York and the Yankees.
And the biggest moments.
There are players that come to New York. A lot of guys say they want to play for the Yankees, and they put that uniform on, and all of a sudden it can be overwhelming. Like the fan base with the Yankees, they're loyal, they're rabid, they traveled, they're everything. So he not only when he was the right age, he's proved that he can handle playing in a big market, and thirdly, he delivered on what the Yankees were hoping he would bring. I'm not going to say he led them to the World Series. There were a lot of factors. This Yankee team was a pretty good team, but there's no question, Brian, he put the 2024 Yankees over the top, and that's why they were the best team in the AL.
Yeah, he helped propel them. No question. It's a big part of the engine. the same time, look, and then here's the projected Mets lineup. Francisco Lindor comes off a career year, terrific year. But it's funny, as I looked at this up and down, and look, Mark Vientos off a marvelous season. Nimmo was pretty good. Marte not as good. McNeil not as good. Jose Siri is a light bat. He's a great fielder, but not a light bat. Francisco Alvarez, still a young catcher. He is not hitting as of yet. It's a little light.
It's light.
You know what I mean?
It's light, and I'm going to push back on you on this. This lineup to me is okay. The issue with the Mets in 2025, they're going to have to recoup and rebuild that pitching staff. I don't know if they're going to bring Quintana back. I don't know if Sean Manaea is coming back.
They lost 500 innings out of the rotation.
Brian,
500.
From July on, the starting pitching was the best part of the Mets team.
Yep.
Their starters were going deep. They took pressure off that bullpen. Pete Alonso got hot at the right time at the end of the year. The lineup to me is okay. They're going to have to find some pitching.
Yeah, no question. Also, as I look at that lineup, I'm saying, what is it missing? It's missing just kind of raw power and production. That's Pete Alonso. Anthony DiComo putting this out. Steve Cohen, owner of the Mets, said the Mets are still engaged with Pete Alonso in the marketplace. Hopefully we'll get there. They do have room. We're going to get into the finances of this, but they actually do have room financially, I would think, for Pete Alonso. What do you make of that?
I would be surprised if he's back with the Mets because I think they really like Vientos. Vientos doesn't really profile that well as a good defender at third base. He was their best hitter in the postseason. I see them moving Vientos to first base. And for some reason, Brian, I just feel that Pete Alonso is putting on a different uniform than of the Mets in 2025.
Okay. It's funny because they're a little light. There's a lot of things you can say about Alonso. If we were just showing, look, his OPS plus, league average is 100, but it's only 123 each of the last 2 years. But he's up around 300 total bases. He plays games. You see the games played. He posts, he plays. But as he gets into his 30s, it's a conundrum. He produces, but it's not at some, like, Soto is this great slash line player with the batting average, with the on base, with the slugging. That's not Alonso, and yet I still feel the Mets are a little light without that bat.
I think for me right now, the Mets, they're going to gamble on. They think Vientos can replace what Alonso could give them at first base. The one thing with Alonso, you know he can hit 30. Vientos is yet to hit 30, but maybe that's what the Mets are banking on.
He slugged very well. And again, they're not. David Stearns and Steve Cohen are not done as of yet. Later.
A magnificent season.
Guess what? It's gone. How do you like that?
He is an absolute machine.
Juan Soto to the Mets. It's real.
Soto does it again.
$765 million deal.
Soto magic. He might go down top 5 hitter all time.
Where were you?
That lineup looks really good, by the way, there.
This is landscape changing.
A special day for our organization.
Definitely, that was one of the things that opened my eyes more. How hungry they are to win a championship and to want to make a dynasty in the New York Mets.
Juan Soto officially introduced as a Met today. Here are the largest contracts by total value. Again, let's not bury the lead here. This is the largest and longest contract in the history of Major League Baseball. And the Shohei Ohtani contract, previous high at $700 million. A lot of that is deferred. And then you drop down to $426. By the way, David Stearns, like Willie Adames, also a former Brewer as an executive, of course, used to working on a budget. Not anymore. Harold Reynolds now with David Stearns, president of baseball operations for the New York Mets.
All right, David. Hey, first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
What was that negotiation like?
Yeah, it had its ups and downs, like a lot of negotiations do. The only difference here is we were dealing with a $750 million negotiation, and so the stakes felt a little bit higher. But look, this was a lengthy process, which we expected. There were multiple motivated teams that were probably jockeying with each other throughout this, and we feel really good, and we're fortunate that ultimately we were the last team standing here.
Tell me about Juan Soto. Why so coveted? Why was this the guy that you guys stepped in so far on?
I think if you look at the history of baseball, there are just so few players who have done what he's done at such a young age. I mean, the list is maybe 2 or 3. And the way he goes about his craft gives you reason to believe that he's not done yet. And this can just keep getting better. He works incredibly hard. He cares about winning. He's motivated to continue to get better. And when you have a player who's on track to get to Cooperstown, who wants to continue to get better, that's a pretty good sign.
And for an organization that you're starting really to turn this around for yourself, second, third year now, you want that guy that's showing that to those younger players in the organization. He said you guys went through everything. Was that part of it as well?
Absolutely. Look, we wanted him to know who we were, what we were doing well, what we still needed to work on. And he's going to fit in great here. We've got some great leaders in our clubhouse as it is. Francisco Lindor is an elite leader, and Brandon Nimmo's a great leader. And I think bringing someone like Juan in to complement that group, to work with that group, is going to be great for us.
All right, when it got to 700, did you kind of go, what in the world? Where am I at?
Look, these numbers are somewhat incomprehensible, right? I mean, these are enormous numbers, and we're very, very fortunate that we have an owner and an ownership group that's willing to do this. And there are very few owners in baseball that were willing to go to this level, and we're lucky that we have one of them.
Last question. Met fans want to know, are you done? What else do you see you need to add with the club?
Look, we're never done trying to get better. This is a big piece, and this makes us better, but we recognize there are still ways we can get better, whether that's potentially in the rotation, whether that's rounding out the bullpen, rounding out the position player group. We're going to be open to all of it. We got 3 months left in the offseason. That's a lot of time, and we'll see where it goes.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, that's Harold Reynolds at Citi Field with David Stearns. Let's dig a little deeper here on this historic contract. Normally, we look at the player and the production, but the Juan Soto deal is the biggest contract in the history of North American sports. What are the financial ramifications of this all-time deal? Let's do a little digging in. In Major League Baseball, you need top-end talent to win, but you also need to have a strong roster top to bottom. It's a team sport. There must be balance. With a 26-man big league roster, there is a limit to what you can pay one person. So let's start with this. Let's look at the leaders in salary payroll as it pertains to the competitive balance tax. The massive deferrals on the Dodgers' Shohei Ohtani contract force us to look at it this way. And this is important. This is the game the GM must play. The competitive balance tax is the number they must be aware of. And the Soto deal is the biggest hit to any one team's particular payroll. Soto's AAV, average annual value, is $51 million. Shohei Ohtani's deal is counted at $46 million per year. Then it's Zach Wheeler, $42 million for the Phillies. Then Aaron Judge, $40 million. Jacob deGrom, $37 million as a salary. $51 million is a big number. It's number one. Next question. Is it too big? On MLB Now, we ask these questions all the time. We started to ask it with Mike Trout, Mookie Betts. Then when Bryce Harper and Manny Machado hit the market, we also asked that question. With our research team, we came up with this. A ball club can still have a healthy, full roster while spending 14 to 17% of its payroll on one player. Anything above that, you are courting an imbalance. But 14 to 17% seem to be the industry standard. And lo and behold, with a payroll of $300 million, guess what it is? 17% of $300 million? $51 million. That's likely what the Mets have in mind. Soto's $51 million is 17% of a $300 million payroll. The Mets had an opening day payroll of $330 million 2 years ago, kept it right around there last season. Right now, they're on the books for about $235 million for next season. We can expect that number to jump. I figure it still will be around $300 million by opening day. Now realize, only two clubs have ever hit the $300 million level. That's real money, Dan. The Mets and the Yankees. They're the two. The Dodgers flirt with it, but they've yet to get there. They defer a lot of that money. 300's a big number with a heavy luxury tax. The Cardinals, for example, 12th in payroll, about $180 million last year. 17% of their payroll would be about $30 million. That's the most that they should spend, and about what they did spend on Nolan Arenado, their highest paid player, by the way. So the key to carrying that big Soto contract will be the Mets' ability to stomach a large luxury tax payment each year. I won't bore you with the details, but I'll say this. For everyone that thinks the luxury tax won't bother this particular owner, I would point out, just 2 years ago when the Mets weren't winning, the luxury tax bothered Steve Cohen quite a bit. It would bother anyone. The other part of this deal is that it's not just the highest hit on a club payroll, it's also the longest deal in the history of baseball contracts. They'll be paying Soto from age 26 to age 40. It's a fascinating deal, and just like Soto's all-around game, there's a lot to like and there's a lot to not like. The World Series should still be fresh in your mind, right? So remember who Soto was in that series, even when he was just 25 years old. He has fantastic at-bats, plate discipline, pitch recognition, contact, power. He also is ready, but also he's below league average defensively in the corner outfield. Below league average on the bases as a base runner. Those things count, and that's happening right now in his prime. The gap between his hitting and the all-around game will increase as he ages. Doesn't mean he won't be worth it. but it will be a lot of money allocated for a DH who doesn't pitch. And that's how I see it. Let's bring in Dan Plesac. Because for the crazy money that the Dodgers did for Shohei Ohtani, he's going to pitch. This guy
he's going to pitch,
and he's not going to pitch.
And he's bringing in a whole audience in that Japanese market that is consumed with Dodger baseball right now.
True. Now, Soto also makes the Mets a big show. I get that. He's a superstar. He makes them a show. But you know, Dan, we've done this a lot of times, done for over a decade here on MLB Now, MLB Tonight. A full half of these free agent deals, teams regret at the very end. 15 years is a very long time. So I think there's going to be a great part of this contract and then a part that they will regret. Maybe not all of it, but part of it.
Agreed. You and I had this debate about 5 years ago when Harper and Machado hit the free agent market and they signed contracts, long-term contracts at over $300 million. We both were like, boy, that is risky.
10 and 13 years.
If you look at what Harper has brought to the Phillies, he has changed the face of baseball in South Philadelphia.
Correct.
There's no question about it. And the Machado and the Padres play has coincided with each other. And I think that's why, if you're the Mets and you're David Stern, you look at this and say, okay, is this the right player? And if you think it's the right player, then if you have an owner that's willing to go that deep, then you go in because you think Juan Soto can be for you what Harper and Machado have been for the Phillies and Dodgers.
And those have been foundational players. You're absolutely right. The free agent market. Again,
フアン・ソトがニューヨーク・メッツとの歴史的な契約を結んだことは、MLB だけでなくスポーツ全体においても画期的な出来事です。この契約は、メッツが新たな時代を切り開くための象徴的な一歩であり、ソトがその中心となるべき選手としての期待が込められています。しかし、その期待を上回るためには、彼自身がさらなる成長を遂げる必要があります。ソトはすでに MLB の若手スター選手の一人として認識されています。19歳でデビューして以来、卓越した打撃力、選球眼、そして一貫性を持つ選手として評価されています。しかし、大谷翔平やアーロン・ジャッジのように、単なるスターではなく現代野球の象徴として名を刻むためには、数字以上の影響力が必要です。それは、チームにおけるリーダーシップ、プレー以外での存在感、そして何よりも勝利への貢献によって図られるでしょう。メッツは、ソトを中心にチームを構築する計画を示していますが、彼の契約が成功とみなされるかどうかは、チーム全体の成果次第です。野球はチームスポーツであり、どれほど優れた個人であっても、勝利するためには、他の選手たちとの連携が欠かせません。フランシスコ・リンドールやブランドン・ニモといった既存のリーダーたちとの相性、そして新たに加入する可能性のある選手たちとの化学反応が今後のメッツの行方を左右するでしょう。また、契約期間が15年と非常に長いため、その全期間を通じて高いパフォーマンスを維持することが求められます。ソトはまだ26歳であり、これから数年間はキャリアのピークを迎えると考えられますが、30代半ば以降におけるコンディションの維持とプレースタイルの進化が重要です。過去には長期契約が後半において負担となり、チームの財政を圧迫するケースも見られました。したがって、ソトがどのようにして自らの価値を証明し続けるかは、今後の MLB における重要なテーマとなるでしょう。ソトがメッツに与える影響は、プレーだけにとどまりません。彼はメディアの注目を集め、ファンの期待を一身に背負う存在です。ニューヨークという巨大市場でプレーすることは、彼にとって一種の挑戦でもあります。そのプレッシャーを力に変え、メッツを新たな高みへと導くことができれば、彼の名前は大谷翔平やジャッジと並び称されるどころか、彼らを超えるレジェンドとして語り継がれることでしょう。メッツがこの契約によって追い求めるものは単なる勝利ではありません。それは王朝の構築であり、MLB の歴史に名を刻むことです。そのためには、 ソトが個人としての成功だけでなく、チームを一つにまとめるリーダーシップを発揮し、メッツを継続的な優勝候補へと仕上げることが不可欠です。この巨額契約がただの賭けに終わるのか、それとも野球史に残る成功物語となるのか、その答えはソトとメッツのこれからの15年間にかかっています。そして我々ファンもまたその行方を見守り、彼らの挑戦に期待し続けることでしょう。不安ソトがその才能と努力で大谷翔平やアーロン・ジャッジを超え、メッツと共に新たな歴史を築く瞬間を目撃する日が来ることを誰もが待ち望んでいます。